Okay, I'm live. Let me get live on Insta. There we go. Okay, live on all my platforms. All right. So, for those of you that are new to this is the first time you see me, first video you've seen of me, or first time you've tuned in live. I'm a writer, an author, and I have loved comic books and superheroes since I was 4 years old. So I come on every week and I talk about what caught my attention in fandom for the week. Hold on. So I come on here on Friday and talk about what I thought was notable in sci-fi, fantasy, and comic book fandom for the week. Oh, that's good. Man, I'm thirsty. So what caught my attention this week was how many things are being eulogized or are soon going to have to be. Let me say that again. What caught my attention this week, the last week of January, first month of 2026 is over. And what caught my attention this week was how many things are being eulogized or they're going to soon have to be eulogized. So that's why this week's live stream is entitled Rest in Peace. Okay. So I'm going to talk about more than one thing. So that's why you can't just think you know everything I'm going to talk about from my titles. You have to actually tune in. Okay. So I'm going to talk about more than one thing because I know there's one thing you think I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about more than one thing. Because again, what caught my attention this week was how many things are being eulogized or are soon going to have to be. And it's a shame in almost every case. So first, we're going to start right here. We're going to start with, let me pull it up and I'll show you. So first, we're going to start with TikTok. So you should see my TikTok on the screen. And yes, I do have a TikTok. And yes, I do post clips there too of the superhero content and stuff that I talk about. And it's really, really funny. It's really, really funny because every audience is so different. Like the Instagram audience, it's very different from the YouTube audience. It's very different from the TikTok audience. It's really something, but they're all different audiences. And so one of the things that we're going to have to eulogize or going to have to eulogize soon is TikTok. I don't know if I'm going to stay on the platform. I know a lot of people have already left the platform, but the reason why is because they changed their service terms. They changed their agreement. So I'm going to go into actually my account, and then we're going to look at an article. So if you want to wear all this, so let's go up to settings. You should be able to see all this, right? So let's go up to settings. I'll put a link to my TikTok. There's already a link in the description box, but I'll put another link in case you've never checked out my TikTok. So, count everything, blah, 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 blah. We're going to scroll down to here. This right here. Targeted ads outside of TikTok. With this setting, TikTok may show you ads on other websites and apps using information collected about you both on and off TikTok. Now, this is on. I'm going to shut it off, but I just wanted to show it to you. With this setting, the ads you see on TikTok can be more tailored to your interests based on data that advertising partners share with us about your activity on their apps and websites. You will always see ads on TikTok based on what you do on TikTok or other data described in our privacy policy. And then you can go in here and disconnect. If you're connected to certain advertisers, you can clear this data here. Okay, so I'm going to shut this off because that's ridiculous. But TikTok had posted that, and now they basically made it plain and clear what they're doing since the American corporate takeover. So having said that, let's pull up the article. I'm not going to read the whole article, and there's a lot of stuff in here that's worth reading. So we're actually going to go to the uniladtech.com site. And so there's a lot of stuff on here that's worth reading, but I'm just going to skim it so I can kind of give you the gist so you can understand what's really happening. It's the dawn of a new era for TikTok. 2 years since services were suspended for a day. Remember that? The continued threats that the short-form video platform could be banned in the USA look like they're finished. Trump first floated the idea of banning TikTok during his first term, changed his mind. Chinese-owned TikTok was stealing our data and spying on us. So that's all changed with a new deal, formation of the TikTok USGS joint venture LLC, serving as an independent entity that's governed by a 7-member board of directors. Okay. 3 managing investors for U.S. operations include Oracle, headed up by Trump ally Larry Ellison. Okay. So a lot of data here. And it's talking about, the Epstein files, and it's talking about a whole bunch of stuff. But what we need to focus in on is what does it mean for TikTok users? Okay. So right here, the outlet says that the terms of service had to be changed to comply with the likes of national security demands in California's Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA. Although it notes that these aren't technically new things in terms of what TikTok is doing, there's some significant alterations. Noting 3 changes as either a compliance shift or completely new, Tom's Guide first talks about the collection of sensitive identity data. While it was largely suspected that your FYP was cultivated based on certain information, the terms of service reiterate that TikTok can collect data on everything from your gender identity to your medical diagnoses. Meta or Facebook collects similar data, although TikTok takes it one step further by mentioning immigration status. Now, I need you to pay attention to all that. See everybody in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Give me your comments. I'm going to post them when I get to talking, so keep them coming. But look at that. TikTok can collect data on everything from your gender identity to your medical diagnoses, your medical records. Facebook collects similar data, and people out there putting all that stuff out there. And then TikTok even talks about immigration status. Just wow. So I want you to imagine all of that being put on blast on TikTok. Okay. Another compliance change appears to be pre-upload content scanning. Far back as May 2025, terms inform users that TikTok was within its rights to scan user-generated content. Basically, even if you decide not to upload a video, it can still be analyzed by the TikTok overlords. So you make a video, and even if you decide not to post it, they're still going to scan it and run it through whatever they needed to run it through for whatever data they're collecting. So it's everything that they said China would do to Americans, except now they're doing it. Okay. This was designed to flag privacy violations before they happen and pre-tag user interest, although some are unhappy about seeing it in black and white. See, so they're basically getting you going and coming. Like you can't have a thought if you put it anywhere near a TikTok app that they don't capture. And then store it about you and then share it with advertisers along with your activity off the website, off of their app. Okay. Finally, it appears, I'm here now. Finally, it appears there's a new introduction of precise geolocation. Precise geolocation, they're tracking you. They're tracking you now. Your phone has always done that. You should know that. You should know that you're being tracked by your phone. And you can also be tracked by other family members. Because I remember the first time I saw one of my nieces do that. One of my nieces knows where everybody is based on their phone. Because so that's not new, but precise geolocation, so not general area. Perhaps the most alarming, the previous mention of approximate location has been swapped for precise. It's important to note that some social media platforms have been doing this for a while, that you can also opt out on TikTok. Calling out the revamped terms of service, one person complained it's a data collection app disguised as social media. Okay. In general, others are concerned about how TikTok can supposedly use your likeness. Another rage, imagine seeing your own face in a TikTok ad for a product you hate 3 years after you deleted the app and realizing you signed away the rights to your own face in a 50-page terms of service that nobody read. That's some Black Mirror stuff. See that? So I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on the platform with all of that going on, to be honest, because it's not new, but whenever things get to the point where people are no longer being subtle and people are no longer being covert, they're just out with it. When it gets to that point, that's the point where people, corporations, whoever, are signaling that they think they're too big to fail. So they don't have any problem just throwing stuff in your face because they think, what you gonna do about it? So again, this has been happening for a while, but I'm saying it's becoming more and more intrusive, more and more blatant, more and more overt, to where anything that you share online now is taken out of your hands. And even if you delete apps, and even if you turn off sharing, even if you do a lot of different things, they're still using it, they're still selling it, and all the different kind of stuff. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on TikTok, honestly. So I've definitely gotten some new followers and definitely gotten some engagement, but because I'm always looking for comic book people everywhere. Wherever there are sci-fi fans, fantasy fans, comic book fans, wherever you are, I want to talk to you because you're my people. So I didn't mind, the platform or whatever, but so I don't know. I'm still making up my mind on that. But I feel like the platform is going to die. I really do. There are so many people that have already deleted it, so many people that have already gotten off of it. So I don't think it's going to continue like it's been. I really don't. Okay, next up, I told you my topic this week is rest in peace, because I saw so many things this week that were being eulogized or had to be eulogized. So next up, what I'm going to talk about is a comic book legend that died this week, Mr. Sal Buscema. Shame on you if you don't know who Sal Buscema is. Turn in your geek card if you don't know who this man was. Okay? So for those of you that don't, his life, he did too much for me to sum up his life. He's incredible. He was incredible. Okay? But just to give you some high points, if you will, and then we're going to look at an article. I'll sum up what I'm talking about. So he's mainly an artist and an inker, but he co-created so many characters and he did so many incredible stories. And a lot of people think he just worked for Marvel, but he did not. Okay? He did not. And then also he did inks on a lot of the works for his brother, John Buscema. So Sal did a lot of the inks, but he did a lot of pencils and his own inks. but his stuff was next level. His stuff was next level. And whenever he got involved, it became also almost an instant classic. And so we're going to look at some of that work. But he worked for DC as well as Marvel. So just to give you an idea, Action Comics, Superman stuff, Batman stuff, pretty much their whole pantheon. He also worked for IDW, Dungeons and Dragons. He did for Forgotten Realms as an inker, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, ROM, Space Knight. He co-created ROM. I love ROM. And then he did just about everything for Marvel, from Alpha Flight to you name it. There's almost nothing in Marvel that Sal Buscema didn't work on. John as well, but definitely Sal. And then, like I said, just the sheer amount of characters that he created or co-created, like the UFOs. Man, I love the UFOs for the Hulk. Man, I love them. I love them. I love them. Rom Space Knight, he created. He created Libra for Marvel. He created Ursa Major, or co-created. Created Power Broker, co-created Firebird, Gene DeWolf. He was part of a team on one of the developments of Lady Deathstrike, because Yuriko was created in stages. And so actually ramping her up to Lady Deathstrike, he was a part of that. Magma, you know, from the New Mutants, Baron Zemo, Helmut Zemo, the Zodiac. He created or co-created many of these characters, so many more, I can't read them all. So I'm saying, you know, shame on you if you didn't know who this man was. So he passed this week, and he was just a force of nature in his life. And he just did so much. And so when people like this pass, one of the notable things to do is use their life as a challenge. When you die, when you leave this mortal coil, what type of body of work are you going to leave behind? What kind of impact will you have had in your life? When people like this die, that's what you need to ask yourself. One of the things that I am doing, hopefully I'm doing and trying to do in my life, is I'm a teacher in terms of profession, as well as a writer. And so one of the things that I'm always focusing on is literacy. And that's one of the reasons I love comic books, because especially when I came up, you learn so much, it opens your mind, stimulates the imagination, teaches you words and terms you didn't know, takes your brain to different places, you know, teaches you geography, social issues, politics, the bright costumes. There's so many good things that happen in comic books. So one of the things that I'm always doing is trying to encourage people to get, you know, kids to read, and my kids read comic books and all that. So it's the literacy aspect that I really want to pass on to other people, because reading can only make you better. It can only expand your mind and your vocabulary. So that's one of the things that I like to do with my stuff, the stuff I create. But when I talk, like on platforms like this, when I go on panels, when I do Comic-Con conventions, when I do author book signing tours, you know, it's never just about the books themselves, but also literacy and reading and what that does for your mind, because it had such a great impact on me. So that's what I mean when I say, when a man like this passes, you ought to challenge yourself. You ought to look at their body of work, look at their discography. You know, like when Prince died, look at all the music Prince made and all the music that's coming out of his vault that he never released. When I was in school, I looked at not the discography, but the songwriting, the repertoire of Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, and all the music he wrote with his life, and I was blown away. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? When I look at the sheer amount of music that this man wrote. So that's what I want you to get out of this. Let this be a challenge to you and what you're doing with your life. Will you have a body of work to show when you leave this mortal plane like this man? Will you have had an impact with your life and your work? So I'm going to challenge you today to think about that, because that's what we're supposed to do when giants of the industry pass. Remember them, recognize them, understand their impact, understand how they guided us through many different periods in our life. But what are you doing with yours? See that? So let me pull up this article because for those of you that aren't familiar with his work, some of this will be stuff that he inked. Some of it will be stuff that he penciled. Some will be both. But I want to show this to you just to give you an idea of the sheer scope of this man's body of work. So on 13thdimension.com, and this is an article by Paul Kupperberg, my 13 favorite Sal Buscema splash pages. So this just dropped this week. Okay. So we're just going to look at them. This is probably the most famous. Okay. John's pencils, Sal's inks. That Silver Surfer #4 cover, Silver Surfer squaring off against Thor. Man. I mean, talk about an instant classic cover. And a lot of people, this is still their favorite Silver Surfer cover, maybe their favorite Thor cover too. But look at how much is captured in just that splash page. Look at it. That's a work of art. Look at the motion. Look at the motion lines. Look at the motion. Look at the angle. And look at the angles that the surfer's at. But look at the power in Thor squaring back to swing. Look at him standing on the rainbow bridge. Just look at it. It's just incredible. Okay. So more stuff with Surfer and Loki. And again, the energy on the page. Okay. So if you've never worked with a good inker, you don't understand what inks do to your pencils and how they elevate everything on the pencil level. So you got to get a good inker. If you're making comics, you must become a good inker if that's what you do. Or you got to hire a really good one because they will make your pencils come to life in ways you couldn't have imagined. Seriously. Okay. Now these perspective shots, I love stuff like this because it's so comic booky and it's so noir and it's such a throwback, but it's so cool at the same time. So an overshot of the city in shadow, oversized letters, and then smaller characters. I love stuff like that. I love it. So this is Sal as an artist. I love it. I love it. Okay, look at that. Look at that. Submariner and Hulk riding on Surfer's board. Oh, man, talk about an original buddy cop adventure from the original Defenders. So Lethal Weapon ain't got nothing on these folks, okay? Titans 3. Okay? And Cap, man, Cap was some of his best work too. Because again, the motion, the energy in the panels. This stuff is just incredible, okay? So just to give you an idea, again, of some of his work, because it's too much for me to possibly list it all. I just wanted you to see it if you weren't familiar with it. And I want you to see the efficiency of someone that knows how to put a lot of information in a single splash page and give you the motion and the information and the perspective and everything that you need. See, these are works of art. I know that sometimes we take them for granted, but these are done by masters of their craft. Okay? So, I mean, like I said, let his life serve as a challenge to yours, because that's the way I'm taking it. That's what I'm doing. Like, man, I want to have this kind of impact in my writing, in whatever I do. I want to leave behind a body of work that has this kind of impact. I want to encourage people to read, to go for literacy, so that's the way I'm taking it. So rest in peace, Sal Buscema, but you most definitely have inspired us all. Most definitely have inspired us all. Okay. So there's that. We're going to move on to the next rest in peace topic that I'm talking about. Now, This is the one I get the most engagement on TikTok, which just cracks me up. Because there's been a whole generation or two, because I remember when I first saw this hit in the late 90s, when I heard people start saying, don't hate. Is one of the stupidest things I ever heard in my life. Don't be a hater. All my haters were all this hate. What they meant was, you can't disagree with me. What they meant was, you have to like what I like. What they meant was, you have to see it like I see it. What they meant was, no criticism, no commentary. You either love it and just fawn all over it and say it's the greatest thing ever, or you can't say anything. That first hit, that first hit, late 90s, early 2000s, it was the dumbest thing I ever heard of in my life. I couldn't believe it then, and I can't believe it now because it's so stupid. You don't get to tell other people what they're supposed to think and feel. You don't get to tell other people what they're supposed to like. Everybody can have their own interpretation, but facts are not subjective. If something is objectively bad, you are still free to like it, but your liking it doesn't make it not be bad. There are plenty of movies I like that I know they're bad, but I like them anyway. Plenty of movies, even in my favorite movies, even in the stuff I love the most, I can recognize their flaws. Doesn't mean I can't enjoy them. Just to give you a quick example, one of my favorite trilogies is the Bourne trilogy. I love not the stuff after Jeremy Renner, and not when they brought it back. They went on too far. Same with Mission Impossible. The Mission Impossible franchise went on 2 movies too long. They should have stopped with Fallout. But with the Bourne trilogy, I love the movies, all 3 of them. Although I love the first 2 more than the last one, but I love them. Okay. But I'm always calling out one of the biggest tropes and flaws in the first one, and that is that only in the movies do you meet somebody and throw away your entire life within 5 minutes of knowing them. The way Jason and Marie meet in the first movie, and the way she decides to become a ride or die for him, and basically ends up losing her life in the second movie. But I mean, you just met this man? So it's a good thing Jason Bourne is good looking. A good thing he looks like Matt Damon, because really. But anyway, I don't want to get off on that tangent. But the point I'm trying to make is that when people started talking about hating, and you're just a hater, meaning that they equated hatred with disagreement. And again, I'm a teacher. I understand that words, I'm a writer, so words matter. So the 2 professions I'm involved in, teaching and writing, words matter. So you'll never get me to just kind of skip over, kind of gloss over what's being said, and I'm the wrong one. And so they started equating hatred with disagreement or critical analysis. Like, you can't break it down for what it is. And people have been screaming that now for over 25 years. For over 25 years, you're just a hater, you're just old, it's not for you. Brie Larson codified that. It wasn't made for you. Melissa McCarthy codified the "you just hate strong women" for Ghostbusters 2016, which wasn't true. That the sci-fi fantasy community hates strong women, that ain't never been true. But she said, if you don't like it, you're just a misogynist and you don't like it. No, people didn't like Ghostbusters 2016 because it was a poor film. But that is when people started saying that if you don't like these films, you're a woman hater. And if you don't like these films, you're a phobe of some kind. And if you don't like these films, you're a bigot or a racist. And I was like, you trying to say that if I don't like a movie that I hate like entire groups of people? What? It was just so stupid to me. It's still stupid to me now. But we unfortunately have created 2 generations of people that believe that. And so that's what they say. So every time I talk about this next topic, I get the most pushback about it because I get people screaming at the top of their lungs about how wrong I am. And David, you're just old and you're just an unk and you just don't understand. And it's a new time and it's not for you. And they think that, but I liked it is a defense. That's not a defense and that's not an argument. But I liked it is not a defense. If you go to a restaurant and you get served poor food and you say, but I enjoyed that meal, that doesn't mean that the food wasn't bad just because you liked eating it. That's not what that means. Okay, but again, the whole idea of, but I liked it as a defense, that's not a defense and that's not an argument. And saying don't hate, meaning you can't disagree. Yes, I can. Don't nobody tell me what I have to agree with. That's why I don't understand it. Don't nobody tell me what I can like and don't like. Don't nobody tell me how to spend my time or my money. Don't nobody tell me that. Just like I don't tell you that. I don't tell you. That's up to you whether you like something. I'm online sharing my perspective and my opinions, but they're mine. I'm not trying to tell you what to think and feel. I'm just telling you what I think and feel. It seems really simple to me, but for over 25 years now, there's been that whole, but I liked it. That don't mean it was a good movie. Don't hate, you're just a hater, and all their haters, meaning you can't criticize. That's so stupid to me. That's so stupid to me. So I don't know if it's my age and my generation or my personality or my family background or maybe a combination of all that that makes me me. But my response to that has always been incredulousness. I can't believe it. It's so stupid. I can't process it. You think that if there's a movie that features women in the lead, that if I don't like that movie, that I hate women? What? You think that if they take over a franchise and they ruin the franchise and they totally don't understand it and they totally destroy it and they go against the original creators' stated goals in the franchise, where we have on record of an original creator saying what they had in mind when they built the story world, and then you make a point to trash all that, and you make a point to specifically go against that, and then you say that I'm a hater. No, actually, you're the one that hates the material. When you take an established story world and you begin to create content within that story world that line by line goes against everything that story world was built upon and everything that story world was famous for and everything that made that story world successful. When you do that, you actually are hating the content, not me. That's why you can't get me to like James Schmunn's Superman. That's not Superman, that's Butt Kick Man. You ain't gonna never get me to get with people who don't understand the characters that they're writing and who hate them and who hate the audience and the fans that love them because their hatred comes forth. So my point is that we are actually not the haters. Okay? We are actually not the haters. It's the people creating the content now, the people that are in charge now, that specifically tear down every pillar that the story world was built on. Then their bots or their acolytes, pun intended, wink, wink, their bots or their acolytes or their whatever get on social media and start screaming at the top of their lungs about how you can't disagree and you can't dislike and you can't speak against because you're just a hater. That ain't never worked on me. That don't work on me now. That ain't gonna never work on me because it's so dumb. You have to find somebody with a weak mind to push that on because it's so dumb. As hard as I worked during the week, as hard as I've worked in my life, I remember when I was doing a set of my children's books, I had to meet a deadline because I had a book signing. So I sacrificed sleep for 2 months. I was up 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning for months to make a deadline to get those books ready. So as hard as I've worked in my life, you don't get to tell me what should be important to me. You don't get to tell me how to spend my time or my energy or my money. You don't get to tell me what to like or not like. Whatever you like is cool. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. When have you ever seen me do that? When have you ever seen me say, you should feel this way? When have you ever seen me do that ever? I talk about how I feel, the one life I have control over. I talk about that. You don't get to tell me what should be important to me. You don't get to tell me what I should like. You don't get to call me names and then say, I hate entire groups of people because I didn't like this particular piece of content. I'll never forget, just to give you another example, I'll never forget when the Flash was in its heyday. I used to do Flash chat. I really miss Flash chat, by the way. I still have those episodes on my YouTube channel if you want to watch old episodes. But basically, when the Flash was really hitting on all cylinders, which was first and second season, I would actually watch it live with my son on Tuesday night because we made an appointment. It was must-see TV, man. And then on Wednesday, I would come on Twitter and I would do something called Flash Chat, where I would pose a series of 12 questions, a new question every 5 minutes for 60 minutes, and have the fans file in on the episode. It was so much fun. That was so much fun. I missed that so much. And I've been thinking about, doing a chat about other shows, except I can't find shows that I like enough to want to dedicate that much time to it. But I really miss Flash Chat. That's how I met a lot of the people I'm friends with on Twitter now. I will never forget that when I started doing that and I started criticizing the Iris West character, not Candace Patton, because I don't know Candace. I don't know Candace. Candace is a person. She can live her life and come when she wants to. I wasn't criticizing Candace Patton. I don't know Candace, and ain't none of my business how she lived her life. I was criticizing Iris West as a character. And yes, sometimes I did criticize her performance as an actress, but that's what critiques are for. I will never forget all the people that came on my timeline and said to me, you hate Black women. Just go ahead and say you hate Black women. See, you hate Black women. I'll never forget it. I was like, what did you say? I was cornfuzzled. I said, what? I hate Black women because I had the nerve to criticize Iris West as a character. I'll never forget it. And you know what else they did it for? They did it for a Batwoman. Same thing. You just go ahead and say you hate Black women. You are never going to get me to get with something that stupid. And if that offends you, me saying that offends you, then be offended. Have I been in any way unclear? You don't get to decide what other people like. You don't get to decide what other people think and feel. Critical analysis, opinions, perspectives, breaking something down, drawing your own conclusions, spending your time, energy, and money the way you want to is up to every individual human. You don't get to decide that for other people. Having said all that, I'm going to go into my next topic that we're saying rest in peace for, and that is, y'all know where I'm going. Star Trek Academy. Now, no, I still haven't watched this show. but sometimes I watch reviews from other YouTubers that I like. Like I watch some of Nerdrotic stuff. I watch some of Critical Drinker stuff. I watch Derek Anderson, the DA. I watch Jester Bell, Teresa. I watch some of her stuff. So sometimes when I'm watching some of my favorite reviewers, I'll watch their reviews, but even they are struggling. I knew this show was crap I mean, I don't have to watch it to know it was crap. I knew what this was as soon as I saw the promo. As soon as another Kurtzman show, as soon as I saw the promo, I was like, I'm out. So this episode was basically about turning the Klingons into an allegory for immigrants because they erased Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. And they said that the Klingons have once again become somewhat hostile and antagonistic against the Federation. And so they're immigrants and there's, shiploads of them and we need to find new planets for them. And could it be any more on the nose in terms of talking about the socio-political issues of the day, which Star Trek has always done, except what today's Kurtzman Trek lovers and supporters and bots and hater screamers don't want to understand is that Roddenberry Trek and Berman Trek presented social and political issues and then let you make up your mind as to where you stood on them. They used the Star Trek sci-fi context as a backdrop. Then they talked about those political issues, and many of them were quite on the nose as well, like the Chirons, half black, half white, and them hating each other. And, could you get more on the nose than that? So that's not new, but the difference was in Roddenberry Trek and in Berman Trek, they presented the issues and then let you make up your mind. In Kurtzman Trek, they are preaching to you about how you're supposed to feel and what you're supposed to accept. And they are purposely doing stuff just to spite you, just to anger you, just to destroy, like giving Spock a sister and saying Michael Burnham is who made Spock who he is. What? And all of the DEI characters, because every character in Starfleet Academy is a DEI character. Every one. So this latest episode was about him having two dads, and the latest Klingon, which his name is Jaden. And let me say, by the way, when I look at this new Klingon makeup, I think of Snickers bars. When I looked at Worf, that ain't what I saw. When I looked at these new Klingon, that looked like the caramel and the chocolate on a Snickers bar. Oh Lord! So that's what I can't take it seriously. I can't take anything from Starfleet Academy seriously because I will repeat my earlier point. It's actually not us that hate Star Trek. It's the creators, and now some of the actors then jumped in trying to defend this slop because Roddenberry Trek and Berman Trek, like, for example, there's an episode of Berman Trek called The Outcast. It's a next generation episode, and it's basically an allegory for gender identity issues. And so it's a race of gender neutral people. One of them realizes she is female, falls in love with Riker, and Riker falls in love with her in return. She then has to go against everything in her society and out herself as having a gender identity of female because they're gender neutral people called the Janai. And so it's a brilliantly written episode, and Riker's actually willing to risk his career because he falls in love with her so hard. And Picard looks the other way because Riker goes to get her out. But at the end of the episode, if you haven't seen it, they've done electroshock therapy treatments, and they've basically brainwashed her into thinking she was wrong for ever thinking that she was female, and she can't believe she ever had feelings for Riker. And it's a really heartbreaking ending because it slaps him in the face with that the woman that he knew and fell in love with was gone because their ideology overrode, her individuality. So it's as on the nose of an episode of Star Trek as you will ever see, but it lets you make up your mind as to the characters in the situation and how it plays out. And it makes you think about the issues, but it doesn't try to tell you what to think. But Kurtzman Track is nothing but telling you you should feel this way, and here are the issues. And so Jaden, which is just a stupid name for a Klingon, sorry, Jaden is sensitive. He's the sensitive Klingon. He's sensitive. He's sensitive. And so he picks flowers and he does art, and he don't want to do all that killing and all that. And I don't like all the Klingon. This just makes me laugh. I can't take it seriously. Sorry. So that's what this episode is about. What I want to share is this tweet from Sir Bill Holt. I want to share this instead because this so sums up the show. This sums it up so well. If you're one of the ones saying Starfleet Academy is as aspirational as the original 5 series, which character do you aspire to be? The barefoot female captain who talks like she just chugged a barrel of Romulan ale. That's Holly Hunter's character. The sassy, fat, black lesbian hologram who exists mostly to empower stupid people. The obese lesbian alien hybrid who's basically the poster child for bullying. The dried up lesbian commander who does insult comedy every time she's on screen. The gay Klingon who's even weaker than Alexander. The ex-con who's looking for his mommy. The neurodivergent, AKA R-word, because I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. Lieutenant Commander Tilly. The deaf president of Beta Z, which makes no sense. The fat female wheelchair cadet makes no sense to be in a wheelchair when Worf got a new spine. Because this is 1,000 or 800 years or so, 800 to 1,000 years from the next generation. Okay. So female empowerment is apparently code for making everything worse. So, what do you even say to that? Because all of this these are the characters. What do you even say to that? What do you even say to that? What do you even say to a Klingon that's so weak? He's pathetic. I'm like, could you put some bass in your voice? Could you laugh like a man? And I know he's got that artificial stuff or whatever. Could you grow a pair? Could you be giggling like giggling like oh? I'm like, y'all know me. I'm like, if you gonna be a man, be a man. If you gonna fight me like a man to my face. Fight like men fight. You don't get to call yourself a man, but you don't act like one. I'm the wrong one. So all that is so fundamentally against what Klingons are, what Klingons have always been. But everything is against what Roddenberry established, and Berman, and Jerry Taylor and Brandon Braga, all of what they did. Those of you that follow Star Trek know that Kate Mulgrew really had a problem with Jerry Ryan, and she really had a problem with the 7 of 9 character. And the reason that Kate Mulgrew had such a problem with that is because Kate Mulgrew said, you are not going to make me, as Janeway, be a sex pot. As Janeway, you are not going to sexualize me to the point where I'm known as a captain for my curves or for my tight outfits. Kate Mulgrew said, I will not play Janeway that way, where it's all about her sexuality. I'm going to play Janeway as a woman, as a person, but it's not going to be. And Kate Mulgrew was adamant about that. Then here they come with Jerry Ryan in 7 to 9, and it's all about that cat suit. And Kate Mulgrew hated that, and they had a lot of conflict on that show because everything about 7 to 9's appearance when she got deborgified was showing off Jerry Ryan's curves. Because she's very beautiful. She's a beautiful woman, but she wore that skin-tight catsuit. So, it was all about her curves, and Kate Mulgrew hated that. So there's another example in Berman Trek where you had an actor, which ironically, Robert Picardo was a part of Voyager, because now he's going full woke on Starfleet Academy. But anyway, where you had an actor saying, this is not going to be about sexuality. This is not going to be about pigeonholing me as a woman to being no more than my curves. You got to respect Kate Mulgrew for that. She said, you will not define me as no more than my body. She said, no, I'm bringing more to Janeway than that. You got to give her respect for that. I certainly do. But that's why she butted heads with Jerry Ryan, because that's not what 7 was about. So my point is that Star Trek is dead. Everything that's happened has just been a very long funeral. This is nothing like what Roddenberry or Berman had in mind. This is written by why they are calling us haters. Because when I do like my short form videos, when I do video clips, I always get the most pushback when I talk about Starfleet Academy. That's why I started laughing when I brought this up. I always get the most pushback when I talk about Starfleet Academy from these people screaming at the top of the lungs about how old I am and it's for a new generation and it's not made for you. The Brie Larson statement, it wasn't made for you and you just don't get it. Nothing makes me laugh harder than people that are trying to critique a comic book take and they tell me I don't get it. I just posted a tweet this week saying that comic book tourists, I posted a tweet and it had original Simon Williams Wonder Man in his green and red costume, Jim Hammond, Vision, and Wanda Maximoff. And I said, tourists won't even know what these pictures are about. None of the people that ever show up to tell me I need to read a comic had anything to say. Wonder Man, original costume, Jim Hammond, Vision, Wanda Maximoff. None of the people that come on my timeline to insult me and talk trash to me and do all that crazy stuff they love to do and tell me I need to read a comic, none of them showed up. None of them had anything to say. I wonder why that is. But you're going to call me a hater and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. And when I challenge you on comic knowledge, you got zip to say. Same thing with Star Trek. Everything about Kurtzman Trek is a pointed attempt to destroy everything that Star Trek was built upon and piss off and anger all of the people that have loved it for decades. We are not the haters. So you're never going to get me to agree with or accept that label because it's just not the truth. It just isn't. Okay. All right. So let me cut down on the time because I don't want to go too long. So let me go to the next one. Next one I'm going to talk about is, y'all know where I'm going for the next one. Y'all know where I'm going. The next one is Wonder Man. Wonder Man dropped this week, and Wonder Man dropped in totality. And it's, have you noticed, it's always the same thing. Content drops. It's weak, it's lame, it's DEI, it's whatever. And all the shills defend it in the first week before we get a chance to see it. And then when we get a chance to see it, they're going to be a bunch of, but I liked it, it's really good, blah, 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 you should give it a chance, that kind of thing. Let me explain something to you. Not every personality type understands people. Numbers people are not people people. Numbers people like the numbers. They don't understand people. Also, activists do not understand people. Activists think they get to tell you how you're supposed to think and feel. Activists think that their values are supposed to be your values, and there's something wrong with you if you don't value what they value. Neither one of those two groups of people understand people. So accountants and activists, when you put them in charge of your movies, then that's how you get the slop that we've gotten. So Wonder Man dropped this week, and I've heard a lot of people praise it. But the most common thread I heard in Wonder Man being dropped was it's not really a superhero show. It's about an actor. It's about mutant abilities that kind of manifest, and it redeems the Mandarin character, redeems fake Mandarin Trevor Slattery from Iron Man 3. And it's about his struggles and all that. And no. So I want to show you a couple of tweets on this, one from me and one from Sir Bill Holt again, who basically nails it. Okay. Right there. You ought to be able to see that. So Ryan Airy said Wonder Man is absolutely great and one of the all-time best Marvel shows. So why are they dumping it in one day? I'm seriously asking, what's the strategy? So I answered him by saying this right here. So generally, you answered your own question. The key word is dump. They don't really expect it to do well, hence the very low promo, because they really didn't promote it. There have been some trailers, but there hasn't been a heavy push. Okay, like with Avengers Doomsday, for example, because it's still a part of the woke brigade of shows that they ordered up a while back. It certainly is. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. It doesn't matter how interesting they think Black Wonder Man is. There's no audience. There's no art. What do I mean by that? Comic lovers want to see authentic Simon Williams. Now, I know we're the smallest part of the audience, so they don't make content for comic book people. If they ever did, they don't now. But the people that would want to watch Wonder Man would want to watch original Simon Williams. But so wait for that. This is based on Ultimate's Wonder Man, who's a man of color. And then the normie audience would know Simon Williams either way. So what's the hook to make them care? This shows the epitome of navel gazing. It's something only the people that made it would want to see. See Starfleet Academy for another example of that. Do you understand the content that we have now is made by the people that hate the content and hate the fans? So they make stuff that only they would want to see. Do you understand that? We've been that way since at least 2015, if not sooner. So we've been that way for over 10 years now. If they're still thinking that just the MCU Marvel Studios label is enough to get eyes on it, that day is long past. Only the shills respond to that now. That's what the accountants think. Remember the accountant from Jurassic Park who was talking about calculating all the money we can make, because they think that once a brand name is successful, that it doesn't matter why the brand name was successful. You can't bring in accountants and activists to make your creative decisions. Good Lord from heaven. I wish I could bronze what I just said and stamp it somewhere. You can't bring in accountants and activists to make your creative decisions. They do not understand creativity and they do not understand people. Accountants understand numbers. Activists are trying to push their agenda. They consume platforms to push their message. Neither one of them two groups of people are storytellers. You understand? So the people in Marvel are still thinking that because the MCU was at one point as successful as it was, that we just need to put the Marvel Studios label on it. That'll bring us back to our glory days. I need a soundboard on my live stream. I need to hit that buzzer, okay? Now, personally, this is just me. I know a lot of people disagree with me, which is cool, because I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm telling you what I think. This is me personally. I would never watch a show with some stupid Trevor Slattery fake Mandarin in it ever. You can throw bait and switch in my face if you want to. He's an guaranteed no from me. I hope they think that's as funny as they thought fake Mandarin was. What do I mean? I think I made my meaning clear, but in case I haven't been clear, what I mean is you don't get to bait and switch me and then throw it in my face and then think I'm going to watch your stuff. I won't. I hate Iron Man 3. I don't think I hate anything more than I hate Butt Kick Man by Schmud. That just takes the cake. But I hate Iron Man 3 because everything about it is weakness. Tony's weak. The armor itself is weak. The plot is weak. And then they got one of the biggest bait and switches in fandom that was so controversial and divisive. Iron Man 3 is not on the order of The Last Jedi in terms of its status, but it's in that vein because the fake Mandarin reveal split the fandom, just like The Last Jedi split the Star Wars fandom. Some of us are still mad about that. And some people are like, I got over it. Some people tweeted me, say, I think it's funny. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Some people are like, I used to feel that way, but I accepted it. Cool. Oh, that's cool. I'm talking about me. See, when people show you who they are, you should believe them. So that's why I'm honest with my audience, because this is me. I don't have different faces. This is me. And so when you have been purposely doing spite right, purposely doing stuff to tear down these story worlds and these characters, purposely telling me to my face over and over again, we don't care about what you want to see. We don't care about what you want. You want John Krasinski? I know I'm saying it wrong. John Krasinski as Reed. We're going to shred him. We're going to give him 5 minutes of screen time, and I'm going to shred him right in your face. I'll let you know you ain't going to never get that. See, you only have to show me that one time because you made your intent clear to me. This is not funny. I made a tweet this week about never forget what they took from us. They took the real Manders from us. And so many people have said this explains it. I don't care. I don't care. Just like people have tried to talk about, the power broker and, Sharon Carter and what they did to her in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I knew Falcon and Winter Soldier was going to be some crap I've never watched and I never will. Because I knew what it was. And then Sam gets preachy. And then I heard some people say, well, he's just preaching that one scene. Doesn't matter. It's a hacktivist platform to try to stick their finger in your face and tell you what you're supposed to think and feel. Once you show me that's your goal, then I'm out. I don't have to watch your stuff. I don't have to emotionally invest, and I certainly don't have to give you any of my money. I'm just speaking for me. So I want to show you, sir, a Bill Holt. I hope I'm saying that right. I want to show you his tweet because, once again, it's so perfectly summative. Since Disney is all about representation, here's my race-celebrating review of Wonder Man Episode 1. Race swap Simon Williams is a Black actor now. He goes to audition for a Black female director who he tells your Sons of Anarchy episodes were the best in the series. His audition is for a scene where a white woman turns into a monster and kills the Black guy. He gets fired by a fat white woman for trying to change the scene too much. He goes home to find his white girlfriend leaving him. He gets mad and objects start shaking. He meets white British male Trevor Slattery at a showing of Midnight Cowboy. Later they talk about it. Slattery tells him that there's a Wonder Man movie being made. He's auditioning for it. Simon goes to his morbidly obese Black female agent to complain about not being told about it. Begs to get an audition. She chastises him for being fired and asking her to do her job. She owns a talent agency and is a lesbian, calls her female receptionist baby. Simon finagles himself on auditioning. The Gay Brown audition check-in guy makes him sign a waiver saying he doesn't have superpowers. He and Trevor become pals. Concludes with the shock twist. We're told Simon Williams is superpowered, unstable, incredibly dangerous. In other words, the male hero is actually the villain in his own story. That's just the first episode of Wonder Man. He says Ben Kingsley is great, though. I ain't going to watch it. I don't care. You can't redeem that character in my eyes. So the point I'm trying to make is that once again, they done told us over and 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 over again. And if you like it, that is cool. If you like it, that's cool. I don't have no problem with that. And if you like what they did with Travel Slider, I don't have no problem with that. I'm just telling you that ain't working for me. All right, so let me go to my last rest in peace, and I definitely want to read your comments because I love your comments. You know that. So the last thing I have to say rest in peace to is Kevin Feige's funded fan fiction. All that we've gotten, it really started with Captain Marvel, shoehorn Captain Marvel between Infinity War and Endgame. It really started there, but it definitively started with WandaVision. So I see the MCU in sections. There's the Thanos saga, which starts with Iron Man 2008 and the Incredible Hulk 2008, all the way up through Endgame. That's the Thanos, however you say his name, saga. And that is kind of a self-contained unit of films. After that, as soon as we get to WandaVision, phases 4, 5, 6, whatever, I don't care. As soon as we get to WandaVision, that is the full start of Kevin Feige's funded fan fiction. And it's been nothing but a stream of crap ever since. DEI characters, he said he want to make most of the characters in the MCU female, all this different kind of stuff. That is Feige's funded fan fiction from WandaVision till now. So the reason I'm saying rest in peace to all that is because they are finally coming around and saying that maybe we need to get back to what made us great, but they are making the mistake of thinking that nostalgia will do it. Nostalgia will not do it. So what they have coming up this year is the Wonder Man series. They have Daredevil Born Again season 2, for which I watched the trailer. I love Matt with Karen, but we'll have to see how that plays out, because the first season of Born Again was just so incredibly boring and slow and dull to me. I had a problem with it. So I don't know. We'll see. X-Men 97. Now, here's another one where they had a really good thing, but the showrunner got on Twitter and started, running his mouth about certain things. And if video killed the radio star, then social media killed everybody else. Social media killed the celebrity star, because they refused to just do their jobs and entertain us. Now they have to preach to us. And Spider-Man Brand New Day, I really don't count that as heavy into the MCU because it's partly Sony, but partly because that's not really Peter, that's Miles in Peter's skin. That's Miles' story and mainly his supporting cast. They just stuck Peter Parker in that. That's not his story. No Uncle Ben, May's dead, and all them stupid supporting characters. That is Miles. That's not Peter's world. So your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man season 2, where he looks like he got his costume out of like a dumpster. Oh, okay. Avengers Doomsday is the big one they're betting on. And then Vision Quest is supposed to drop this year. And it's going to be a special presentation of the Punisher. All of that is still Kevin Feige's funded fan fiction. So the MCU is not ever going to be back. They're not going to do it with Doomsday. I talked about that in my last one. They're not going to do it with Doomsday. They think they will, but they won't. Okay? So that's the last thing we have to say rest in peace to, because the MCU is not going to come back. They think it will, but it won't. Okay, now let me jump into your comments, because I love these comments. Same with my wife. She's on TikTok a lot. I've only been on it a few times. So like I said, I go wherever common people are. I'm always trying to connect with common people. So I'm not on absolutely every platform, but I'm on the main ones. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, because I'm just trying to connect with my people. People send me stuff from there, but I'm 37. It's hard to get me to new platforms. Well, it's different for different people. It depends on, your motivation or whatever. Like I said, my motivation is connecting with all of you guys. That's why I'm on different platforms, because the comic book people are my people. So that's my motivation. Same here, too much to keep up with. Yeah, after a while, each platform is its own. You basically have to get a PhD in each platform to maximize it. But now all the stuff that they're rolling out on TikTok is just, it's also intrusive and invasive. Well, yeah, the goal was to stop China, not their tactics. That's a very good point. Very good point. I can't argue with that. All these sites, TikTok, X, Facebook, Instagram, heck, your Alexa or Google listen and the algorithms track everything you do. The days of privacy are long over. This is correct. So as I said earlier, it's when they get blatant with it and it's very overt and no longer even attempt to hide, is when they've gotten to the feeling like we're too big to fail stage, to where it doesn't matter what the users think. Okay. I think you can jailbreak your phone, though. I've heard of that as well. I just assumed we all knew the party was over a while ago and are just waiting for the cops. Party's been over for a while, for sure. But the old thing about, boiling the frog. If you boil the water and put the frog in it, the frog will jump out. If you put the frog in room temperature water and slowly turn it up and boil, you'll kill the frog, because the frog won't jump out if the water gets boiled at a slower pace. So it's more of that. Yes, so the electronic prison is closing around us. I would have been got off TikTok. Yeah, like I said, I'm thinking about it. I just have to see. I miss the days in my Beamer and BlackBerry. Yes, I'm that old. Those were the days, boys, back in the 90s. I remember them days. I remember them days where you had to get beat to call somebody back. And people developed that BlackBerry addiction. I remember that. I miss my Game Boy Pocket. Rest in peace, Sal Buscema, absolutely. Sal's Hulk is the definitive Hulk art for me. What a comic legend. A lot of people feel that way, that his Hulk was definitive Hulk. Again, I told you, he's just a giant. His Alpha Flight art was great too, yes. Fingerprints are all over the Copper and Bronze Ages, yes. Silver Surfer and Thor cover is legendary, yes. 1,000% yes. Yes, it is. To this day, that cover is legendary. Sal captures the imagination and fantasy that makes these characters in comics great. That's right. So like I said, his life is a challenge to those of us that create. So then I switched and started talking about haters. Don't hate. How can your opinion, taste, or perception be BS, which is basically what don't hate means to me. You like what you like or don't like. People can't dictate that to you. That's exactly right. So like I said, I can't process the concept. Y'all know my background. My father was my hero. My father was a very hardworking man. I saw my father work literally until he died. So that has been my upbringing. So I say that to say, as hard as I watch my dad work, and as hard as I have worked and continue to work in my life, I literally can't understand someone thinking that they get to tell me what to spend my money on or how to spend my time or what I'm supposed to like. I can't. Okay. I've enjoyed our back and forth discourse on the myriad of topics on next. We generally agree on most things, and you have definitely opened my eyes to things I didn't consider. Well, thank you. That's really what I want to do. Have healthy discussion, even if it's heated discussion, even if we fundamentally disagree. I have people that I talk to all the time that completely disagree. A lot of people disagree with me on this Wonder Man thing, and a lot of people disagree with me on the Mandarin thing. That's fine. I have zero problem with that. I'm just saying you ain't getting me back into that. I mean, nope. You got me saying butt kick man to people when talking about the new Superman movie. Sorry to steal it, but it's perfect. It's true. It's accurate. That's not Superman, that's butt kick man. Okay. Butt kick man will never not be funny. You should do a flash chat for the new Wonder Man show. Oh my word. I stopped doing flash chat because I honestly ran out of questions because the episodes started getting very, very repetitive. Towards the later seasons of The Flash, they were literally the same thing. Barry Allen would be in his own show 5 minutes at the beginning, 5 minutes at the end, and then it was the rest of the cast. And so Iris had her group, and then Cecile had her group, and then they broke off Caitlin, and then Killer Frost, and then Keone, and then he was doing all this other stuff, and it was almost incohesive as a show by the time it gets to the end. So I just ran out of questions. I'm like, I can't keep asking the same questions. That's why I stopped doing flash chat. But I do miss it. But no, I ain't doing it for Wonder Man. What am I going to ask? Do you think this scene was more stupid than the last? I'm sorry I wasn't around for flash chat. I love that show. After the first 3 seasons started to go downhill. That's correct. But that first season was a masterpiece. That's correct. Quality level of Superman, the movie. What the Flash first season had was real character development. Like, remember in the first episode, we see Barry's mind working as he flashes on the screen. The width of the tires, the distance of the car stopping, the type of mud that was in the ground, a real forensic scientist examination. Remember how we saw that with Barry? Remember how Caitlin was meticulous with the details about his bio readouts. Caitlin was monitoring everything about him coming out of that coma and having super speed and what that was doing to him. Cisco was the fanboy perspective. Cisco was the geek who made the first Flash uniform. That first season of Flash, man, it was gold. And then they threw out their formula. And some other stuff was happening behind the scenes. I know that, but they threw out, same with Arrow. They threw out their formula and made it into Dawson's Creek with superpowers, which is the only thing the CW knows how to do long term. Issue with us on the Flash show is there was no chemistry with her and Barry. I never bought a relationship with Barry like I did with Barry and Killer Frost. Exactly correct. Barry should have been with Caitlin. I'm a Snowberry fan. Y'all know that about me. I'm a Snowberry fan. Grant and Danielle had a chemistry that was popping off the screen. Just popping, just electric. And Barry, as a character, should have been with Caitlin. So they completely threw out Oliver and Black Canary, Oliver and Dinah on Arrow, and put Oliver with Felicity. So that's what let me know that they didn't respect canon. They just did what they wanted to do. So all the people that came at me with canon arguments about the Flash, I was like, nope. There's no canon with Arrow. Oliver's supposed to be with Dinah. And we never even really got a good version of Dinah. And so Oliver should have been, Barry should have been with Caitlin. And remember when we got to Savitar and Killer Frost being evil, they were together. They actually went on a crime spree and did a whole bunch of stuff together. So they actually were together. Because Grant and Danielle had an undeniable chemistry. Okay, but instead they had Barry marry his sister. Oh my goodness. No, not Star Trek. Yeah, I had to talk about it. Absolutely correct. They did present the issues and let us decide. The Star Trash, I like that, Paul, by the way. The Star Trash, not Trek, is offensive and franchise destroying. That's right. It fundamentally goes against everything that Star Trek is built on. Everything. Everything. Sounds like Star Trek jumped the shark like Star Wars did. Yeah, yes, it did for exactly the same reason. You can't put accountants and activists or hacktivists in charge They don't understand creative stuff, and they don't understand people. So I just wanted to clear that up for everybody in case you've been struggling, because people keep asking why. I'm trying to explain to you why. Accountants don't understand people. Accountants don't understand creativity. They understand numbers. Accountants are concerned about what the numbers say, not why the numbers say it. You follow what I'm saying? What are the numbers? What's the data? What's the readout? What's the trends? What's all that? Not why. Numbers, not people. And hacktivists are just trying to capture and overtake and consume and kidnap platforms to push whatever social or political or ideological message they're pushing. They don't understand people because they're trying to make you think that their point of view is right and that you should think and feel the way they do. You don't get to tell other people how to think and feel. So that's what happened with Star Wars. Got people in there that hate George Lucas, hate his story world, hate his stories, and thought they were going to create a whole nother world and ignore the OGs. And now the Kennedy is gone. They're backtracking on every last drop of that, changing the theme parks, changing everything to try to go back to OG Star Wars, because none of Ray and them didn't work. I talked about that last time. I wonder when we will see AI Star Trek like we see with Star Wars Beggar's Canyon. That AI stuff is excellent. Well, I do acknowledge there's a lot of AI stuff as well. Yes, I agree with all of that. I'm sure it's going to be soon if people still care enough to make it, because the Star Wars stuff that we saw, these last two things were really, really good. So, but Star Wars has been doing fan-made stuff really well for a long time. So I don't know if we're going to get into that Star Trek. I don't know if there are enough people left that care. I know there are a lot of Trekkies, and I know that that's a strong fan base, but I don't know if they're going to take it to that level. I really don't. I could be wrong. I just don't know. So hate on me. I took it for what it was without any thoughts of what I know about Wonder Man. I'm going to say I loved it. They hit me in the feels. Ben Kingsley deserves adoration for his part. Cool. Why would I hate that? Cool. I'm glad you enjoyed the experience. That's awesome. Yeah, that was a hardcore critique. Well, yeah, if you're talking about mine, yeah, but mine are normally like that. But if you're talking about Bill Holt, man, he broke it down. He broke it down. Okay, so yeah. WandaVision, talk about a character that I'm not sure you can redeem at this point. Yeah. See, they ruined Wanda in the comics anyway. They ruined Wanda and Pietro by retconning them not to be Magneto's kids, and then retconning them not to be mutants, and then doing that stupid thing in the Ultimates where Wanda and Pietro were lovers, sibling incest, twincest. I'm going to state another concept. There's such a thing as point of no return decisions. There's such a thing that you can do both in life and in fiction. So if you're a writer, you can have your characters do it, but in life, you also can make decisions that you can't really come back from. That's one of the scariest truths about life, that you can make a decision that so fundamentally alters the course of your life until you never get the life you had back. If you want an example of that, Monica Lewinsky. Monica Lewinsky, the only reason we know who she is because she had a relationship with former President Clinton. That has now marked her for life. She ain't gonna never get away from that. She's never going to be able to get away from talking about her relationship with the former president. That's a point of no return decision. You can't go back to the life you had once something like that happens. You see that? Same thing can happen in fiction. They did it with Wanda and Pietro by all them endless retcons, and then they did it by, not making them mutants and then removing Magneto, that whole connection, and Lorna, and just that whole thing. And I just reject all that. But then when they drove Wanda crazy, and they did Avengers Disassembled, and they did House of M, and no more mutants. And they did all them storylines with Wanda's reality warping power going to the max. They ruined her. Scarlet Witch can't come back from that. Scarlet Witch cannot come back from that. How could she ever be considered a hero again? You know, the damage that she caused. Another one is this X-Men Krakoa era. They're not going to come back from that. We're going to keep loving X-Men for the previous iterations. For, you know, Claremont Byrne, for Jim Lee, for X-Men 97. We're going to love that. Not the Krakoa stuff. Not the X-Men Gala, all that. So you can make point of no return decisions in fiction. And they've kind of done it with Jean Grey. It was good, but Jean Grey can never not be Phoenix now, which is a shame. She can't ever just fully be Marvel girl again. Jean has to come back from the dead. Jean has to be Phoenix. And so for better or for worse, that kind of is what it is. But Wanda in the MCU is just, she tore through dimensions like a demon, killed everything in her path. And the only time she stopped was when her fake children rejected her because they made her see that she was a monster. She tore up everything. So I don't even know the point of Wanda Maximoff now. Why? Why? She's a villain. So, no, you can't redeem her. Haven't watched Wonder Man, love the character in the comics, but this show doesn't pique my interest. Me either. So, like I said, the setup would make me not want to watch it. But once I saw that fake Mandarin was in it, I was like, nope. No. So that's it. So I wanted to talk about rest in peace, because so much, like I said, we have to eulogize. So great talking to you guys today. I appreciate all your comments. I love them. And always remember, I'm not here to tell you what to think and feel. I'm just telling you what I think. I love to hear what you have to say. I love good, honest debate. You know, on Twitter, we're talking about different things. I love that. Comic fans have been doing that since time immemorial. That's not new. What's new is these hacktivists and activists coming into comic book space and taking it over and turning it into something that is not. And then telling us that we're haters. That's what's new. So I'll be glad when I get to do a live stream about, maybe I'll title it The Day Woke Died. I'll love to do that live stream. But till then, the DT2 Comics Chat signing off for now. I'll see you same time next week, Friday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time for my next weekly Comics Chat. Peace.